pressure of constantly looking for funds to maintain the level of work that they need to do, and to give them that encouragement in building relationships. Not always easy relationships, I have to say.
She wore them, she showed them off, and then the bill came due. Right now, the royal family is in an uproar over a massive showdown nobody expected. Princess Anne is now demanding Camilla's daughter give them back. Queen Elizabeth's private sapphire collection, and the palace is powerless to stop this story. We are talking about priceless gems steeped in history that Queen Elizabeth hand-picked over 70 years, and now they're allegedly in the hands of Laura Lopes. Camilla's daughter has no royal title, zero royal protection, and it seems absolutely no claim to those sapphires. And Princess Anne is done playing games. She is not backing down. It's the sapphire collection that defined a queen. To get why Princess Anne is so furious, you have to understand just how important Queen Elizabeth's sapphire collection really was to her. This isn't just about money. We're talking about historical and emotional baggage that goes back 100 years. Elizabeth's famous sapphire suite started as a very personal wedding gift from her own father, King George VI. He gave it to her on her wedding day back in 1947. It had a necklace, earrings and a brooch, and she later added the incredible George sapphire tiara in the 60s. Look, this wasn't just jewellery it represented. A father's love for his daughter, crafted in sapphires and diamonds, gifted at such a critical time. Just as young Princess Elizabeth was about to step into a future that nobody could have predicted. But Queen Elizabeth didn't stop there, for her sapphire jubilee, which marked 65 years as queen. Back in 2017, she posed for a famous portrait wearing the entire set. And that portrait was a statement. It screamed, "These stones are mine, they tell my story, and they represent a reign." Unlike anything else in modern history, the sapphire suite wasn't just for fancy state dinners, you see. It was her life story in jewels. The Belgian sapphire tiara is one of the few tiaras Queen Elizabeth actually bought. Unlike all the inherited or gifted pieces, she personally sought this one out to complete the suite of sapphires that meant so much to her, that wedding gift from her father, King George VI. She found it had it, completely redesigned and truly made it her own. The tiara first appeared during her first official state visit to Germany, back in 1965. It became a staple in the 1990s, showing up at major state visits, and on royal tours like her trips to Pakistan in '97 and even the United States and Russia. Now, when you look at the entire sapphire collection, that means the Belgian tiara, the George VI parure, the necklace, earrings, the brooch, plus other pieces, royal experts say it's worth at a bare minimum tens of millions of pounds. But honestly, for anyone who gets the British monarchy, the price tag is almost meaningless. What really counts is the sheer symbolic power of these jewels. They belong to a queen who reigned for 70 long years, and they were never meant for private hands. Which brings us to Camilla's calculated sapphire takeover. When Queen Elizabeth II died on September 8, 2022, the entire world mourned her. But inside the palace walls, the business of royal inheritance kicked off instantly, and Queen Camilla, who has always been one of the monarchy's most controversial figures, didn't wait around. She moved fast to stake her claim on some of the late Queen's most famous jewellery. Ever since Queen Elizabeth II's death, Queen Camilla has been the only royal spotted wearing the famous Belgian sapphire tiara. She first wore it to the South African state banquet back in 2022, and wore it again at the diplomatic reception in December. Barely months after the Queen's death, Camilla had made herself the new keeper of the late monarch's sapphires. And while in public, this was all spun as the Queen consort, honouring the late Queen, those on the inside, especially Princess Anne, saw things very differently. Camilla wore the Belgian sapphire tiara with a diamond festoon necklace, which is made of 3 massive rows of diamonds, originally made by Cartier for Dame Margaret Greville way back in the 1920s. The pairing was stunning and totally deliberate. Camilla wasn't just getting dressed for a formal event. Oh no, she was positioning herself as the rightful owner of Queen Elizabeth's entire jewellery legacy. Critics pointed out that Camilla was basically hijacking the iconic image that generations of British people had always connected with Queen Elizabeth II. This whole thing was especially explosive due to this backstory. Radar Online has claimed that Queen Elizabeth's choice to have Kate inherit her jewellery created major friction between Kate and Camilla. An insider even said Kate is clearly the family favourite, though Camilla would never admit this out loud. It absolutely fueled her resentment toward Kate. Now, before anyone asked about Laura Lopes, Camilla had already been dealing with incredible tensions over the royal jewels. That Sapphire collection seemed to be ground zero for a huge power struggle, with Princess Anne keeping a very close eye on every single move. So who is Laura Lopes and why does she matter? Most people barely know Camilla's children at all. But to really grasp the full scale of this complicated story, it is crucial to understand precisely who Laura Lopes is and why her link to the royal jewellery is causing such a stir inside the palace. Laura Rose Lopes, born Parker Bowles, came into the world on April 19, 1978. She is an English art curator and the daughter of Andrew Parker Bowles and Queen Camilla, which of course makes her the stepdaughter of King Charles III. But crucially, Laura is not a royal. She has no title from the crown and she receives no public money, has no royal protection team and holds no official role for the British state. This is all despite her mother, sitting on the throne right next to King Charles. Laura lives an almost completely private life. Laura will not be getting a royal title or be styled as a member of the royal family, even with her mother as queen consort, according to Thomas Mace Archer Mills, the founder of the British Monarchist Society. Royal titles are given out only to actual members of the royal family and their spouses. And while Camilla is a royal spouse, Laura Lopes is not. Put simply, Laura is a private citizen, a very well-connected private citizen, but a private citizen all the same. Laura and her husband, Harry Lopes, have 3 children together, a daughter named Eliza and their twin sons Gus and Louis. Eliza even had the honour of being a bridesmaid at the massive wedding of Prince William and Princess Kate. And Gus and Louis appeared with their grandmother on the Buckingham Palace balcony as pages of honour during the coronation. So the family is woven into royal life through Camilla, but being woven in is not the same as being entitled. This very fine distinction makes the entire question of royal jewels going to Laura Lopes so incredibly controversial. Royal commentators often note that Queen Elizabeth's will, along with Prince Philip's, is sealed for 99 years, so the true details of what was left and to whom are a complete mystery. What is known, however, is that state jewels, including the crown jewels and other famous pieces tied to the monarchy, are considered national treasures, not some personal property to be handed down to a queen's daughter's kids, if any. Pieces from that historic collection were to land in a private home without fanfare. Princess Anne, the late queen's only daughter and a fierce defender of her mother's legacy, would almost certainly not let it slide. Princess Anne is the uncompromising guardian of the crown. To get why Princess Anne is allegedly launching this fight, you need to recognise what kind of a royal she really is. She's not a diplomat, and she is certainly not a peacekeeper. She is the most direct, principled and unyielding member of the entire Windsor family. Her devotion to her late mother is practically sacred. In a post on the British royal family's Instagram in September 2022, Princess Anne revealed that she was right by Queen Elizabeth's side during the final 24 hours of her life. I was fortunate to share the last 24 hours of my dearest mother's life. It has been an honour and a privilege to accompany her on her final journey. She wrote, Anne was the very last of her siblings to hold her mother's hand in a bond that powerful does not just vanish. It becomes a personal mission. Princess Anne inherited her late mother's practice of reworking older pieces and giving them new life, choosing well-made heirlooms over passing fads. She has been seen wearing her mother's brooches, her pearls and items that Queen Elizabeth loved personally, not for mere show, but as a living act of tribute. After the Queen passed away, Princess Anne wore her mother's sapphire and pearl brooch, which once belonged to Empress Marie Feodorovna of Russia, during a dinner that she hosted at the British High Commissioner's home in Uganda, decorated with emeralds, sapphires and rubies this beautiful. Gold brooch has been a key part of the royal jewellery collection for over 6 decades. Princess Anne was first spotted wearing it at just 11 years old during the 1962 Royal Maundy service. For her, these jewels are so much more than accessories. They represent memory duty and the monarchy. So when reports began to surface, suggesting that pieces of Queen Elizabeth's sapphire collection were being quietly moved, accessed, or even presented to Camilla's daughter, sidestepping proper royal protocol, Princess Anne's response was said to be swift, firm, and totally in character. This is a woman who kept vigil at her mother's bedside, and she will not see that legacy distributed to a private family without putting up a fight. The hidden collection and what hidden sapphires actually means. The very phrase hidden sapphire collection raises immediate questions. What exactly was hidden from whom, and why? To get answers, you need to understand something many royal watchers might not fully grasp. Queen Elizabeth II kept huge portions of her personal jewellery collection completely out of public view, and a complete inventory was never ever disclosed. Queen Elizabeth II owned over 300 jewellery pieces, including 98 brooches, 46 necklaces, 37 bracelets, 34 pairs of earrings, 20 tiaras, 15 rings, 14 watches, and 5 pendants. This is an absolutely staggering number, and the items that were publicly seen in photos and at state functions were just a tiny slice of her whole collection. Many more brooches, necklaces and jewellery sets were worn in private, loaned informally to family members, or stored at royal homes like Balmoral and Sandringham, which get far less media attention than Buckingham Palace. The hidden part of this story isn't that the pieces were deliberately hidden away. Instead, it's that in the months after Queen Elizabeth's death, the full inventory of her private jewellery, separate from the officially recognised crown jewels, was just never made public, and while some of Queen Elizabeth's most treasured possessions have been passed on to King Charles III and the Queen Consort, other royal family members have also been spotted wearing items from her personal collection. This whole distribution was never announced and had no transparency. It all happened quietly behind the walls of royal estates. Insiders have long said that. The George VI sapphire parure, deeply personal jewels gifted to Elizabeth from her father, represents the sentimental core of this whole collection. The Belgian sapphire tiara is one of the very few pieces that Queen Elizabeth actually purchased herself to complete the set, and Queen Camilla has fully embraced its legacy, wearing it on multiple occasions since becoming Queen Consort. But while Camilla's public appearances in the tiara are one thing, imagine if other supplementary sapphire pieces, less documented, rarely photographed, and much more personal, quietly found their way to Camilla's private home for her daughter Laura Lopes to use. That would be a huge breach of the unwritten yet very powerful rules that govern the handling of royal jewels. Princess Anne, who reportedly has deep knowledge of her mother's full collection from her long association with it, would be the first to know which pieces are missing from the official lineup. Sources are suggesting that this exact knowledge is what sparked the confrontation. The confrontation, the messy fallout, and what is coming next. This is where the story gets its most dramatic and consequential. The showdown between Princess Anne and those in Camilla's daughter's circle apparently wasn't just some quiet chat over tea. By all accounts, it carried the force of someone who believes a terrible wrong has been done to her mother's memory, someone with both the moral high ground and the royal standing to demand it be fixed. Princess Anne reportedly confronted Laura Lopes directly about her possessing items from Queen Elizabeth's sapphire collection, pieces that by palace tradition, if not by actual law, must remain. with the active royal family or be placed in public exhibitions and under official care. This distinction is critical. Private citizens, even the children of the Queen Consort, just don't have a legitimate claim to items that carry the immense weight of the monarchy itself. The royal family's relationship with its jewellery is nothing like a normal inheritance. Royal commentators have noted the Queen's will is sealed and the complete details about which pieces were given to whom have never been confirmed by the palace. This secrecy is a double-edged sword. While letting these pieces just drift away without any transparency, it means that any move to get them back cannot be made public without causing a scandal involving the king's wife herself. This is the incredibly thin line that Princess Anne is now walking. She can't go to the press or release an official statement because the palace would deny the whole story. But the confrontation itself, by all reports, was very real, and the demand for the items to be returned was crystal clear. Princess Anne knows better than anyone that the British monarchy's power relies on the public seeing the continuity of its symbols. She once told Women's Weekly, "The Queen and I discussed the difference between fashion and style. She didn't follow fashion, but she had true style, and style lasts forever." Those sapphires are not a fashion statement. They represent the iconic style of a queen and the very essence of her reign. They are irreplaceable. The consequences of this confrontation go far beyond just jewellery. This is really about Queen Camilla's final legacy within the royal family, and whether her quiet, strategic collection of royal assets, influence and positioning will decide how history remembers her time as queen. Kate plans to leave her inherited jewels to Princess Charlotte, which ensures these items remain securely within the direct line to the throne. This is exactly the model the palace endorses, letting priceless jewels go to a private, untitled family is the absolute opposite of that plan. What unfolds next is being watched like a hawk by royal insiders. The items are reportedly on their way back, but the damage to the relationship between the princess, Anne, and Camilla's inner circle could be permanent. For Princess Anne, this is completely acceptable. She didn't serve at her mother's side for 70 years only to watch her entire legacy get quietly broken up. The sapphires are part of the crown jewels. They belong to history, and as long as Princess Anne is alive, she will fight to make sure they stay exactly where they belong. If you've made it this far, then you get that this is much bigger than just some gems. It's about power legacy and who gets to control what the royal family stands for and who doesn't. Drop your thoughts below. Do you think Princess Anne was right to step in and confront Camilla? And don't forget to subscribe, because when the palace tries to stay silent, we make sure you hear the truth first.